YouTube, what's happening? It's your boy D. I'm back with another video. It's a beautiful Sunday, relaxing day. Usually my Sunday is just a chill and vibe, you know what I mean? And I want to get on here, give you a little bit of motivation. I want to give you a little inspiration. And I got some time today, right? So I wanted to share what's on my mind. One of my videos that did fairly well so far was my path from being a Jehovah's Witness or a JW to going into law enforcement. Now, it's still kind of early on my channel, right? But I figured, let me expound on it some more. Obviously, some people like that because it got more views than any other video that I put out. So I want to expound on that a little bit. Because it's Sunday, usually my Sunday I kind of vibe out, kind of chill. So I got a little bit of soul, R&B, jazz playing in this video, so I hope y'all don't mind that. Anything I say that you can use in your life or share with somebody else, please like the video and subscribe. It helps the algorithm, helps me share this information with more people, and helps me help more people, right? And those people that are looking for answers or looking for guidance or possibly have some ideas going through their head that they may feel they're the only one, but something I say may click with them. So please, if you like this content, if it resonates with you, please like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. But yeah, I mean, it's Sunday. I wanted to enjoy the day, but I also want to, pay it forward. I wanted to, give some of my time with you guys. You know what I mean? So, growing up, for you people that haven't heard about my story or you haven't seen my other videos, I grew up a Jehovah's Witness. Some of you may be familiar with it. Some of you may not be familiar with that organization. But a lot of TV series and sitcoms in the 80s, the 90s, early 2000s, you would hear knocking the door and they say, "Oh, Jehovah's Witnesses." You know what I mean? Making a joke about it. Sometimes they would have like a fake Jehovah's Witness, people at the door. Sometimes they would just hear a knock and they would just make that joke because that's what Jehovah's Witnesses are known for, knocking people's doors, especially like on a Saturday morning when you worked all week or Sunday morning when you want to relax. So very known for that. So I grew up in that organization. I was what they call a born in. All right. So I was born into it. My family, I'm the fourth generation. Right. So my great grandmother, she was a Jehovah's Witness, my grandmother, my father, and then it was me. And then if I would have stayed in, it would have been my son. Right. So I'm thankful that I did not stay in. I'm thankful that I made that choice to leave. But I want to talk about my path with that, right? It wasn't an easy thing. It wasn't something that I was, something that basically that I thought about growing up. I really didn't think about leaving the organization. Being a born in, you're very, for lack of a better term, indoctrinated, right? So yes, I know about other religions. I know about, Catholics. I know about Presbyterian, Protestant, Baptist. But I know from a distance because when you're in that religion, that's not just your religion, that's your life. That's your lifestyle, right? So, yes, I knew there were other religions around, but when it came to lifestyle, that was my lifestyle, being a Jehovah's Witness. And I knew there was things that I felt were a little constricting, a little controlling, but I didn't know any other way of life, right? But being the kind of character and person I am and having the kind of mindset I have, eventually I came to a crossroads. And with the crossroads I came to was, do I stay in this religion and live my life the way I was raised, or do I take the chance and go a different path, right? And growing up, there were certain things as a Jehovah's Witness we couldn't do, right? We couldn't celebrate holidays. Some parents were very strict. We couldn't play any sports. And somebody like me, I was very good at sports. Football, basketball, soccer, swimming, you name it, I was pretty good at it. The only sport I didn't really have a good handle on was tennis. But the other sports I was good at. And, coaches and some of my schoolmates would go to my parents and ask me, can David play this? Can he play this? And they were like, no. So they didn't understand why, and I tried to explain it to them. But when you're a preteen teenager, it's kind of hard to explain why you can't do something, especially when you want to do it and you're good at it, right? And that religion didn't push education, right? They didn't push you to go to a college, a 2-year school, a 4-year school. What they did allow was trade school. So things of such of machinist, carpentry, plumbing, electrical, and that's not for everybody. Now, I went to high school and I went to a trade school while in high school called Votech, and I went for carpentry, and I learned some things. Don't get me wrong, but it's not something I wanted to do for a long period of time. It wasn't a career that I wanted to make of it, right? And when you're in that religion, you're in a box. There's certain jobs you can't take because of the schedule. There's certain jobs you can't take because it contradicts with their beliefs. So, especially being a male of color, and not having the support with education, not having the support with going through school, taking a sport to help me with education, a lot of things I couldn't check off the box, so to speak, right? And it limits us, right? And I think part of the reason they do that is because they want control. They want to control the masses. And if I can't educate you, well, I don't let you get educated, and I let you do sports to help with your education. Where some people, they're not the best book smart, but the sports helps them to get into schools, right? I wasn't stupid. I wasn't dumb. I just didn't get an A on every test. You know what I mean? And, football or basketball probably would have helped me in my pathway to school. And I didn't have that opportunity. I didn't have that support, right? So I knew at one point that something was going to give being a Jehovah's Witness. I knew that either I had to stay in and be miserable, because I was kind of miserable, or I'm going to end up leaving, or something's going to happen that I have to leave, right? And way before I made that decision, I tried to go to school, right? So even after I graduated high school, I pushed myself to try to get into a 2-year school. And I didn't get too much resistance with it, but I didn't really get support with it either. And I was going for the medical field. I wanted to be an x-ray tech. And just didn't work out, to put it simply. And then I wanted to be a physical therapist. Something, also in the medical field, didn't work out. And when you're limited on the education and then you're limited on the finances, it puts you in a position where you have to figure it out. I knew one day I want to have kids. I knew one day I want to have, a family, and I can't provide with them with a warehouse job. I couldn't provide with them working at Burger King, which was my first job. So I had to do something, right? I had to do something. And the other part of me was I like action. So law enforcement always played a mindset, played a part of my mind of something I could do. The problem with that, on that side of the tracks, was it contradicted with the structure of the religion, right? So religion stays very neutral when it comes to political affairs, and they also stay neutral when it comes to jobs that you have to carry a firearm, right? And most law enforcement jobs, you have to deal with, maybe not every day, but you have to deal with a firearm, every once in a while. And they didn't agree with that when it came to law enforcement or military. Even though they pay taxes for those people to protect them, they didn't really agree with that. So I knew eventually that I had to do a crossroads. I wasn't getting the support when it came to financial, when it came to school to go to medical, for something in medical. I wasn't getting the support to even go to school, period. Even when I was going to pay for my classes, I didn't get that support. So I had to figure something out. So law enforcement, a lot of places you don't need a degree. You can get a degree later on. Sometimes they'll reimburse you, but you don't need a degree starting off. So I felt that was my best bet. I felt that going to law enforcement was my best bet. I like the action. I like helping people. And I knew that I was a hard worker. So if I worked hard, they had overtime, I could make a decent living. So I did, you know what I mean? at this point that I went into law enforcement, I was already out of the organization, right? But because of the mindset and being born in Jehovah's Witnesses, that didn't really leave me, right? So I was already started the process of becoming, I was in corrections, a correctional officer, but there were still certain things that irritated me or bothered me. And when I had to work Christmas or I had to work, any of the major holidays where people were like, Thanksgiving and holidays like that, it bothered me, right? Because, people would say, happy Thanksgiving or, Merry Christmas and stuff like that. And I'm like, I shouldn't be around these type of people, right? I shouldn't be saying these things. And in that environment, you're not going to run into Jehovah's Witnesses, right? You're not. So you're by yourself. There's certain jobs where Jehovah's Witnesses will work at Walmart, warehouse, but there's certain jobs you'll never run into Jehovah's Witnesses. And the mentality in that type of environment in a prison is a very rough, aggressive type of mentality a lot of times, right? Because you're dealing with criminals. And not all the time, and not every facility, but overall, right? And, my coworkers celebrating the holidays, I felt funny. I got invited to Christmas parties and things of that sort. I felt funny because mentally I was still in the organization. Outwardly, I wasn't. You know what I mean? There's some things that I felt contradicted. There's certain things that I didn't believe in anymore. And it was a challenge. And then when my son came about, oh my God, it was really a challenge because, looking at his face in the middle of the night when I would get up and look at him and I hold him and I was just like, do I raise you to be a Jehovah's Witness the way I was? Or do I teach you how to be a man without bringing religion into it? So it was a challenge. But I decided that I could be a good human being. I could be a good father and not bring religion into it. I felt that most of my growing individually, mindset, emotional, spiritual, was outside of the religion because that religion keeps you in a box, right? You're only supposed to read their material, their information. You're only supposed to, hang out with their people. You can have acquaintances outside of that, but you're not really supposed to have friends. And I felt that was wrong. You know what I'm saying? I felt that was wrong. So I knew that this wasn't something that I was going to do for a long time. I knew eventually I was going to reach those crossroads, and I did. And the first step for me, big step, I would say, was when I took that job in corrections. And it was a turning point for me in a lot of different ways, not just financially, because my grandfather, he was a Jehovah's Witness back in like the 40s, 50s, 60s, and he left the organization in the 60s and never came back. And he was a correctional officer in New York. And I saw the lifestyle that he lived, without rapping, without, dribbling a basketball or catching a football. And he had, 3 luxury cars in his driveway. He had a house in Florida on the water. So it taught me as a black male, specifically, that I could make it with a decent job, benefits, and still have nice cars, still have a nice house, live in a nice area, and not have to worry about, how should I put this? The mental stress of being a celebrity, you know what I'm saying? Or being a drug dealer, you know what I'm saying? Because especially in my community, only people that have that nice stuff that is doing it legally are celebrities or artists and stuff like that. Not to say there's other males, naturally nowadays with the internet, TikTok, Instagram, that are doing things, but you're talking about got out of high school just 15 years ago. It wasn't TikTok. It wasn't YouTube millionaires. YouTube was still kind of new, you know what I mean, 15 years ago. So the way the world changes is great. It's great for a lot of people, right? It's even Jehovah's Witnesses that got TikToks and are YouTubers now that are making money. So that's good. Things have changed. By the time that I was in, it wasn't like that. So those of you that are not too familiar with Jehovah's Witnesses, those of you that are ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, y'all know. And even with me on here, it wasn't not for money. You know what I mean? Like, me is just sharing my story. This is how I heal, right? And hopefully something I say can help heal somebody else. And that's my goal. When it comes to this topic, when it comes to my straight correction videos, when it comes to my straight military videos, that's more income based. But here is very sensitive for me. Here's very personal for me, because this is my life. Corrections wasn't my life; it was a job. Military is not my life; it's a job. Being Jehovah's Witness was my life. You know what I mean? Like, waking up early on Saturdays, Sundays, going knocking on people's doors. Getting doors slammed in my face. People looking at me weird because I said I'll celebrate holidays. Not celebrating my birthday for over decades. That was my life. So when I talk about it, it's very personal for me. And I'm sure it's very personal for somebody else watching this. And know that you're not alone. Know that, there's other people that have been there. There's other channels that you're going to come across that's helped me. And I'm thankful. I'm thankful for the internet. I'm thankful for YouTube. Because I don't know if my healing process would be where it is today if I didn't see other people go through what I went through. And law enforcement, switching into that field, was one of the best things that ever happened to me. There's several different reasons, but when it came down to this, the religion, it was the best thing that happened to me, because I was able to go opposite of what they said that I should be doing work-wise, a job that was frowned upon, and buy one of my dream cars from my work in law enforcement. I was able to buy my first house, after 2 years of being on the job, from being in corrections. And I would never have been able to do that if I was still a Jehovah's Witness, because I would have a minuscule job that didn't pay that good, that I couldn't work weekends, I couldn't work certain nights because of meetings. And for those of you that don't know too much about the religion, when I was in the religion, there was 3 meetings a week, 2 in the evening and 1 on Sunday. And it's kind of frowned upon to take a job where you're missing most of your meetings. You need to be every meeting. You know what I mean? So when I took that mindset, it was like, hey, I need to provide for myself, provide for my family. Nothing else really matters. I was able to advance. I was able to take certain positions, certain jobs that I normally wouldn't take, and it benefited my family in a financial way, huge financial way. You know what I mean? I bought my first house at 25. You know what I'm saying? I was able to pay a lot of credit card debt and just debt off and period with that job. And I would still be in a hole probably if I took a minuscule job or stayed at a warehouse trying to make all my meetings. So I'm not apologizing for that. I'm not upset about that. I had to, work, like I said, weekends, New Year's Eve. I had to do it. But I'm thankful that I took that mindset shift and did it. Law enforcement is a lot of things. It's not for everybody. Whether you know about Jehovah's Witnesses and you don't know about Jehovah's Witnesses, and whether you're a Jehovah's Witness or ex-Jehovah's Witness, and you're thinking about leaving your job, starting a job that you normally would have taken, like a law enforcement job or military, those type of jobs aren't for everybody. You gotta have a special kind of mindset to deal with people at their worst. You know what I mean? And what I mean by that is, when you're in prison, that's pretty much your worst. Even if you're going to be a cop, when do they call cops? When everything's good? No, they call cops when everything is not so good. Things are out of order, right? So you're not always seeing people at their best. So it's very important to have a different kind of mindset when you go into those jobs. The only thing I will say about being a JW that prepared me for that type of mindset, and I have to give it to him, was the fact that when you knock on somebody's door on a Saturday or Sunday morning or even during the week, and they have no intention of thinking about God that day, or no intention of talking to anybody that day, or giving you the piece of their mind or their time, or a piece of their energy, and you're dragging it out of them, you can learn how to talk to anybody, older and younger. doesn't make a difference what their race and nationality is. You can kind of strike up a conversation. They teach you how to do that with anybody. And that benefited me working in law enforcement. That benefited me working in corrections because I could talk to any of the inmates. Whether they were older, younger, old enough to be my father, old enough to be my grandfather. I could talk to anybody. Female inmates, I could talk to them too. So that did benefit me. I can't say everything is negative. I won't say that because there's positive in every aspect. Even the negative situations, there's positive, some kind of positiveness you can pull out of it. So I was able to learn how to talk to anybody. I learned how to ask questions. I learned how to pick people's brain respectfully. You know what I mean? So I did learn a lot. And I won't take that away from them. But I also learned a lot in a negative way. And there's certain things that they allow that with my moral compass in my life now that I would not allow or not tolerate or not support. And that's one of the reasons why I'm not in there today, because there's certain things that they allow and they turn a blind eye to. And the way I live my life now, I refuse to turn a blind eye to some of the things. And I may talk about it on another video. I may talk about it on another time. But this video is just to expound on my journey from leaving the organization, from my mindset shift. And I'm at the point now in my life where I'm at peace. I made peace with it. If you don't know about the religion, I'm currently shunned. I'm currently, as they call it now, removed. Back when I was removed, the expression was disfellowshipped. Now they consider it removed, technical term, but it all means the same thing, which basically means I'm kicked out of the organization. For those of you that don't know, right? So they're not supposed to be talking to me on a regular basis, hanging out with me, and it took me years. It took me years to come to peace. It took me years to realize this is how it's gonna be the rest of my life if I don't come back to the organization, right? And I'm at peace with it. You know what I mean? I don't hold nothing against them because this is what they're taught. This is what they choose to believe, and they don't do their research to see that the religion is really a cult. And some people do hold that against them. Partly, at one point I did. At this point, I don't have the energy. I don't have the energy to hold against them. I love my family. I always love my family. I live for my family. I die for my family. And, being in law enforcement, and now being, in the military, I serve my county, I've served my state, and I've served my country. You know what I mean? So I'm always a giving of service. And even though my family doesn't talk to me, I still, feel that way. You know what I'm saying? I still love them. It doesn't change because they're beliefs. And that's one thing I had to learn on my journey. Leaving the organization was, no matter what happens, I still got love for them. You know what I'm saying? It's not based on a type of religion. It's not based on what their beliefs are today, if it changes tomorrow, or if it changed 10 years, 10 years from now, or how it was 10 years before. I love you because you're my family. I love you because you're the person you are. I love you because of your character. And that's something that Jehovah's Witnesses, those that are really deep in organization, don't understand. They think they understand, they don't understand, because their love is based on religion. It's based on the circumference of that box. And if you outside of that box, the love ain't there. They say it's there, but it's not there. You know what I'm saying? Because loving somebody isn't shunning them. Loving somebody isn't turning your back on them. Loving somebody, if you really truly love that person, you don't cut off contact. That's not love. You know what I'm saying? That's, in a way, it's a form of abuse. But I got so much love in my heart to have hate towards them. I don't have hate towards them. I don't have hate towards nobody. You know what I mean? When it comes to my kids, they treat my kids right. They take care of my kids when my kids visit. So I don't got no hatred towards them. I got no ill feeling, ill will. You know what I'm saying? I'm still gonna love them. But they talk to me, they don't talk to me. it's not going to change who I am. And that's one thing I had to learn. I had to learn who I was. And despite how they treat me, doesn't mean I'm going to treat them the same way. You know what I mean? Because that's not my character. And I think when you leave the organization, you see who your true character is. I think there's nothing else controlling you, right, besides you. So the choices you make on a daily basis is your decisions to make. Whether it's good or bad, it's your decision now. There's no organization telling you should and shouldn't do that, this or that. And this is where you see somebody's true colors. When you got somebody constantly telling you what to do, how they live your life, you really don't know how that person is, because they're not making their own decisions. They're making organizations from somebody in upstate New York. They're not making their own decisions. But now I make my own decisions. If I hang with somebody, I hang with somebody. If I don't hang with somebody, I don't hang with somebody. If I do something stupid, that was my decision. Nobody forced me. If I don't do something stupid, I do something smart. I invest my money. I save my money. That was my decision. Nobody told me to do it. So you see somebody's true colors as you leave that organization or any kind of cult. You see what they really want to do with their life. And I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful for the people that in my family that are not Jehovah's Witnesses that help guide me, that help show me the way. I'm thankful for all of them, friends included, friends that don't care about what religion I'm in. As long as I treat them good and treat them with respect and always show the love I always show, we good. They don't care if I'm a Baptist on Monday, a Jehovah's Witness on Tuesday, a Christian on Wednesday, and a Muslim on Thursday. They don't care. As long as I'm still as long as I'm still who I am, that's all that matters. That's all that should matter. All right? That's all I want to share with you guys today. It's always love. It's always respect. If you liked this video, please give me a like. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Like I said, today's a Sunday. It's laid back. Listen to my smooth jazz type stuff. Just vibing with y'all. And put a comment out. You know what I'm saying? If something I said could help you, put a comment out. If you felt some of the same things I felt, put a comment out. Just please, all I ask is you keep it positive. If you have something negative to say, please don't put it up there, because you don't know who's looking at this. And if there's something that you want me to talk about, whether it's the Jehovah's Witnesses, or whether it's my life as a correctional officer, or my life currently with the military, or any other business venture, I got a couple different businesses, I'll be more than willing to put a video out on it. So put a comment out. Let me know what you want to hear or what you want me to talk about, and we'll go from there. I love y'all. It's respect. It's love all the time. And I'll see you at the top. One love.